Bam. The recording is in progress, which is always good news. And people are coming because they knew that you would be here. And so, like, this is the best part of my job, is that when I see the room filled up and things are awesome. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our awesome event with, this is amazing on two different fronts, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've had sister-in-laws together for an event. So we have Nicole Lesperance, who is our local Massachusetts author of such books as The Nightmare Thief, with her sister-in-law, the awesome author illustrator, Sophie Escabasse. I said yes. I almost said bass. The Southerner in me wants to go bass, okay, but it's anyway. Escabasse. I did it. Yes, Escabasse. The new book, this is the second in the series, Witches of Brooklyn, What the Hex. I'm so excited to have you. Paul, the owner of the bookstore, and I we were chatting with each other, and we're pretty sure this is our first event that we've done with a graphic novel. So that is so fun. I'm so excited to have you both. While we're waiting for more friends to come in the room, usually this is the time where I'm like, hey, what's on your wall? Which Nicole, of course, did her homework, and there's all sorts of stuff on her wall. And then Sophie, it's a little bit stark where you are. So.
Yes, I know. It's a poor basement without much decoration, but at least it is quiet. No kids around.
I know, man. And you know what? Sometimes that's the gift that keeps on giving. We got, friends should know we've been three tired moms here. We really have been just talking about it. So I'm going to ask, instead of like what's behind you, what have you been reading? And you don't have to pick your favorite, but what's the thing that you've been reading lately?
Nicole, you want to go first?
So I am currently reading another witchy book, actually, which is Alex Harrow's Once and Future Witches. I think, Sophie, you told me you had read that too?
Yes, I really loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah, I had bought it months ago and forgot about it, and then I was like, oh, I still have this, and it's been like really good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I really love the whole idea of having like witches in women suffragists. I think it's such a great angle. I love it.
Yeah. How about you?
I'm late in the game again, but I just read my first book by Jason Reynolds. Which
nice.
is called Look Both Ways. And he got me, I was weeping. I was just like, woo! And since then, I'm like, I need to give that book to every single child and grown up, to everyone, basically. It's really beautiful.
I'll have to check it out.
Oh, it's so good.
Incredible. It's like I'm like that because it got me so emotional. It's so clever and so genuinely like it's amazing. It's amazing. Just read it.
I will.
And really made for kids who have like not such great attention. And it's like it's made in 10 different little stories, like the perspective of different kids each time, and it's so beautiful. I love it.
And it's available at the Silver Unicorn bookstore, so please check it out.
Order it.
Yes. And that's a perfect segue, because I'm gonna introduce us, and then I'm gonna get out of the way. So hi, my name is Kara Wilson Cook. I am the events coordinator for the Silver Unicorn bookstore in Acton, Massachusetts. It's such a joy to host you this evening and to have our two guests, Massachusetts author Nicole Lesperance and Canadian, I'm calling you author illustrator. That sounds about right. Is that not right? Do you have a cooler title? I mean, is there any cooler title than that?
I love cartoonist. It sounds like a cool word. I love that word.
That is a super cool title. Our Canadian cartoonist, Sophie Escabasse. Yes, Escabasse. Yes. Author of the Witches of Brooklyn series. And this is the second book, What the Hex. And I'm so excited because Sophie brought some of her illustrations today and pages from the book. So you are in for a treat. Folks, you should know that these two books, along with Jason Reynolds' books and all of the books that you really want to read, are available at the Silver Unicorn bookstore, which is open to you. Come and see us if you're local, or visit us at silverunicornbooks.com, where you can pick up these books, especially Nicole's books, in autographed editions, which is like the best edition to have a book. So come and get those. I already want to tell you, so the chat is open for your just like fun chatty things, but if you have questions for our two authors, please put them in the Q&A, and Nicole will be hosting the Q&A later in the evening. I think that's it. My kids are fighting behind me. It's never happened before. Like, of course I start talking and my kids are just like sword fighting in the background. This is the perfect time
Just
for
so
me
happy it's not
to
mine.
like disappear.
Yeah, no judgment.
It's just like, that's just how motherhood goes right now. Thank you so much for choosing us for an event, ladies. It is just so awesome to host you. And I will see you at the end of the hour.
Thank you, Kira.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess Kira's kind of said everything to introduce you, but I just wanted to say how excited I am to finally be doing an event with you, even though it's virtual. And I'm so excited to tell everybody about this book, which I don't know if any of you have read the first book, Witches of Brooklyn. This is the sequel. They are just the most cozy, like delightful, like magical experience of a book. And I know I'm kind of biased because you're my sister-in-law, but like random people have said the same thing to me, not knowing that we're related. So it's true. It's objectively true. And I'm so excited that like the world gets to see inside your like amazing brain. Because
thank you.
So did you want to like tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your book to start?
Yes, I mean, Kara introduced myself already, but so my name is Sophie Escabasse. I am a cartoonist. I write and draw graphic novel. I'm French and American. I lived in Brooklyn for about 13 years, and that's where the whole story of the Witches of Brooklyn started brewing in my head. I recently moved to Canada, but I still will place these stories in Brooklyn because I love Brooklyn, and I will go back and forth. I have 3 kids, and I do love trees very much. I think that's a good introduction. So in the sequel of The Witches of Brooklyn, What the Hex, the story starts a couple of months after the end of the first book. So Effie is now like adjust to the life in Brooklyn. She, knows her school. She has like her magic classes with Francis in the basement, and with her aunts. She has like her friends. She's more or less back in control of her life. That's until she goes back to school after the Christmas break and discovers that there's a new French girl in her class. And that girl is the reason that her best friend Berit didn't return any of her call all holiday. So our little witch is going to have to deal with an whole whirlpool of emotion. And because she has such a fiery temper, it's not that easy for her. Plus, because at the same time, she's introduced to her aunt's coven as a new witch in training, and she has to dive like right away into helping them to solve a mystery in Backslope. So that's it.
It's such a great book, and I just love the way you had the sort of age appropriate social stuff going on, and the dynamic between the characters, while also like weaving magic in. It was just really, really beautifully done.
Thank you.
I just think it's just such a great meshing of all different kinds of things that are perfect for kids and for grown-ups too, honestly. Like I really enjoyed reading it. Did you want to share like the beginning of it with the illustrations?
Yes, definitely. Let's do that. So let me share my screen with you. Bear with me. I don't know. Dun, 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 dun. I'm making sound effects for you people. Share. Okay. So do everyone see that? So that extract that I'm going to read to you is basically, so Effie went back to school. She discovered that there's a new girl that is basically like ruining her life, and she's struggling quite a lot. So that's after several days. And she comes back home one afternoon, and she cannot take it anymore. So, vla! I can't take it anymore, Selim. That French girl is ruining my life. let's not go on full-on dramatic and jump to conclusion, Tiger. And put that boat back on. You're coming to Park Slope with me. We'll go meet Cece and check that building she mentioned. A change of scenery will do you good, Pumpkin. It's here. Ah, don't go in there. Es el diablo. What did she do this time? Cece? Cece? Over here, in the kitchen. What in the artichoke's heart are you doing? Oh, hi, Selim, hi, Lucy. It's Sophie. Just making us some green tea. I'm roasting rice to go in it, like the Japanese do. I like it myself very much. Have you seen a young man around? He was supposed to replace my ties. Doesn't seem to be anywhere. He started and poof, disappeared. The grout's gonna dry. It's a shame. If you will finish your backsplash, right, Pumpkin? That'd be amusing, and I'll deal with the fire. What? Oh, don't worry about the fire, Suleiman. It's enchanted. It won't burn anything that's in the house. Your house may be immune, but the neighbor's house aren't. You silly lemming. Tea? So, any new development on our stormy corner? As a matter of fact, yes, and it's not good. The UPS lady was injured pretty badly. We need to act quickly. We will. Let's drink your tea and go on site. Can I try the Japanese flaming tea? Of course, I'll pour it. By the way, Cece, wouldn't it be time for you to get an apprentice? That person could help you around the house too, you know. I don't need anyone's help, Selim. And I'm not taking anybody's just for the sake of having an apprentice. Now, let's not waste any more time and get to work. All right, you stubborn nanny goat. Thank you, little one. Of course. Happy to help. That's it, guys. That
was great.
I wanted to share with you.
I love your reading voices so much. Your kids must love it when you read to them.
Yes, yeah, I love reading to my kids too. I mean, I obviously love making voices.
Do they ever yell at you for doing the wrong kind of voice for a character?
Of course. And sometimes you're not sure which character you're doing, so you're like switching back. I mean, I remember when I was reading Harry Potter, sometimes Hagrid was coming when it wasn't time for Hagrid to come at all. And I had this deep voice for Hagrid. They were like, Mommy, sorry.
Yeah.
But you do the voices pretty well too. I mean, you're really good at making voices.
I think it's the hardest is like coming up with them on the fly when you don't know the book and you're trying to figure out who's talking and you have to just make up a new voice for some new character when they show up. Yeah. But you have like a real knack for like not just the voices but the expressions. I liked all the sighs and the groans and all of that.
But I think that's what I love the most, you know, and that's why really I'm character driven in any stories that I write. It's just like I love attitudes and all the fun that goes around it.
Do you like hear them talking in your head when you're designing?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely happening. Do you hear your characters?
I do, yeah. I can always tell when I'm about to get stuck because my characters don't know what to say to each other anymore.
I love that.
You know, like they'll start just like shuffling around and like looking at things. They look at things a lot, and then I'm like, oh, you guys,
yes, you'll stay here. That will happen.
You don't know what you're doing right now, do you? So like, I guess that is a good segue to my first question, which is, so I think a lot of people know how a book gets written and they know how a book gets illustrated, but you do both things, which is pretty rare and like pretty impressive. What's your creative process for from let's say from the very beginning of getting your idea? Does it start with words or ideas or drawing?
I guess it starts with both more or less at the same time. The way it has been, I mean, so far, the way it has been working for me, I usually start with the idea of one scene or several scenes that I have like pretty vividly that I see pretty vividly. You know, we were talking about hearing our characters, but it's like it's, you know, when you like a scene in a movie and you replay it and replay it and replay it, it's, I can tell you, I mean, I know the dialogue of that scene by heart. I can see what the characters are wearing. I mean, so I have like those very vivid scenes that are usually funny too in my head. And then I have a rough idea of where I want the story to go. So I have those two things. So I guess you would say I'm a bit of a plotter and a bit of a pantser, like both things. And so yeah, and when writing the synopsis, when trying to put like those, I call those scenes a bit like, they're like organs, and the storyline is more like the backbone, and both are like coming together. It's kind of a gross metaphor. But
I like that. I've never heard that
putting
before.
the organs and the backbone together, like kind of at the same time. And I sketch in parallel. You know, it's like to me, sketching is really the best way to meet my character, to discover who they are. It's like, you know, when I get stuck, that's what I do. I'm like, okay, stop writing. You don't know where you're going, and I go back to just drawing them. You know, drawing them interacting together, talking, being sad, crying, or being angry, or like climbing a wall. Like, I don't know. It's a way of really getting a feel. You know, it's like being invited to dinner with them. You know, you really get like a close up on who they are, and that usually helps a lot. That helps me a lot figure out like who I'm dealing with, and if I like it or not. You know, if you will like him or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I that's what I do. I write, and in parallel I sketch. And when I have like a synopsis more or less done, and I'm buried under a mountain of sketches, that's when I write the pieces of dialogue that I was missing, because graphic novel is many dialogues. So I will write like all these dialogues, which is kind of a lot. I mean, if you have a synopsis of 20, usually my synopsis are around 20-ish pages. With the dialogue, you easily double that. And when that's done, and I'm more or less happy with it, and my editor is happy with it.
Always important.
Yes. I dive into the tricky part, which is like sequencing things. You know, it's trying to see how it will work into scenes. And because graphic novel like works by, you know, it's double pages. You have, you know, you have to make the action flows and see how you can, you know, divide the action into panels and have the dialogues. You cannot end a scene in the middle of a page or having it like, so it's all a game of laying things out and having the flow. So, yeah.
It sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, so at the beginning, it's not like you will draw things in detail. You know, you really go. I go like a big rectangle and then trying to place things, and like I use a lot of paper, but I draw on recycling paper.
That's good. That's good. I don't see how you could do it without paper. Like
Yeah, I cannot do it. Some people manage to do it like directly on their computer, on their tablet, but I really need to have these when I go on paper and play with it and like get my hands dirty, and like that's the sauce that you prepare to your meal for your meal. No, it has to be tasty, and to be tasty, you have to get dirty.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like that first like I think it was the last screen you showed, where there was a couple of scenes that were just like her letting out that black scribble, and then like that was such a cool little like pause, but it was also such a mood that you had. And so like, are those the kind of things you add in for pacing after you've got like the big picture down?
Definitely. And that's what's so fun with graphic novel, you know, is having the option of telling a story with word and images, that you can really have like those silence that are full of meaning, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you have to get yourself on graphic novel, Nicole. We have to make a graphic novel together. It's such the best medium of storytelling ever for me.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing to me as a writer, because we obviously don't really care at all like what our page looks like, because there's always another page, and like, you know, nobody's ever making you fit it into
the action
that's super daunting. That's incredibly daunting. I think I would find it really hard to plot like that, but that's just really impressive.
So far, it's been working. I hope it
Yeah,
works.
it's definitely working for you.
I mean, you always have the fear that, you know, you've did it once, twice, 3 times, but then you're like, you never know if the magic will happen again.
Yes, I hear that a lot. Every new book, it's like, oh no, I don't remember how to do this.
Exactly. And you look at the previous one and you're like, how did I do that? I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then you're comparing like your finished beautiful thing with your awful first draft. And,
Yes.
and then
And you're like,
it feels
no.
like, yeah, I'll never be able to do that. Why was it so good and so bad now?
I'm with you there. Completely.
I'm glad it's not just me.
No. It's probably every writer, every creator has that. I guess. I hope. I mean, I don't know.
I would assume at least most of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through. This is kind of like in the similar vein as like the pacing and the reactions and stuff. One of the things that I think everyone is taking away from your books is how cozy and comforting they are. And that is not an easy thing to do. I think for me anyway, it's both the characters and it's the way that it's drawn just makes it feel incredibly comfortable and cozy. Is that something that, like, how do you achieve that? Like, do you start off with like wanting to evoke that mood? Does that just come really naturally to you? Like, how does that work for you?
I'm not sure. I mean, I do want to, I mean, I have the desire to make feel good books. That's definitely something that I want to achieve. But then the old coziness, thank you, by the way, thank you. I'm not sure how I create a cozy atmosphere. I think that details do that quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Adding detail to a place, to, you know, like a smell, or like, I mean, you do that with smell. You writers can do that with smell. Us illustrator, it's harder. But another thing that I was thinking, and that we have in common, because you do the same thing, that we both feed our characters. And I think that, and it's not like it's something that I constantly do. It's not like, oh, they're gonna talk about that over a soup, or when drinking a tea and a muffin. It's not like I constantly do it, but then it happens. And when I was thinking of that question, I was like, oh yeah, they can eat quite a lot. I do feed them regularly, and you do that too. So
yeah,
maybe that participate to that cozy feeling. I don't know. Why do you
I
do
always
it?
get I get nervous if my characters haven't eaten. I think it's because, like, I don't know about you, but I get really hangry and like shaky if I don't eat. So I'm like, they must be shaky or hangry by now. I better feed them. It'd be like a mother thing as well. I don't know if I'm just so used to feeding people.
It probably is. And I love feeding people too. So
yeah.
You
are a really good cook, so it makes sense. Yeah, that's funny, but I don't know that my feeding ends up being as cozy as yours. So, you know, I think the way you do it, though, I think for me, a lot of the coziness comes from the way you've just illustrated like every corner of every panel, and a lot of the at least the witches' houses tend to be like really pleasantly, not cluttered, but like just filled with knickknacks that are perfect for their personalities. And I think
I love doing that. Yeah, I love adding details, and very often, I mean, my mom finds a lot of her furniture or or things in my book. She's like, "Oh man, that's my that's it. That's." Or I've placed like the teapot of my publisher too, and you know, it's just like, have, like different things that I take from like a lot of different places that find themselves in that house. It's funny.
That's actually one of the questions that Neil wanted me to ask. This is my son Neil, Sophie's nephew. He wanted to know, do you ever put little Easter eggs in there for your kids? Like things that only they would notice? Or is it more like, hey, that's my umbrella or whatever?
Not real Easter egg, no, but it's true that Effie is wearing a lot of Ella's clothes.
Oh, I love that.
Clearly. And there's detail, like, for instance, at some point she asked if she can have the rest of the chia seeds pudding that's in the fridge. And it's true that at that time we were eating so much chia seeds pudding. I was making some like every 2 days. So
Mhm.
there's things like that, but no real Easter egg. No, Neil, I'm sorry. I will think of it for the next one.
I mean, he's probably been looking for them.
Do you do it yourself?
You know, I also borrow little details, just, you know, same kind of thing, like, oh, I need a chair or I need something. And my kids tend to notice when I'm reading them out loud that I've borrowed small details from things no one else would know. I borrowed some fake swears from my husband. He sometimes when he's, you know, like trying not to swear, he'll say like silly things. And I gave them to one of the characters to say, and so that he read it and he was like, you stole that from me. Yeah, I definitely I try not to borrow actual people from my life, but things are fair game.
Yeah, not the entire person, but some,
yeah,
like some little things. Yeah.
mm-hmm. So also in this similar vein, somebody described your book to me as feeling like a warm, magical hug, which goes along with the cozy thing, but also I think that your characters really model very emotionally like smart and like intelligent ways of reacting to problems and situations. And I loved, was it Carlotta that said talking about a problem is like opening a window in a stinky room. That was so clever. And I'm wondering where did that come from? Did you just come up with that, or is that a saying that you've heard? Or
but I mean, I came up with the turning of the phrase, but it's kind of a, I mean, you know, like, don't let things rot inside you and making your whole being poisonous is kind of an advice that I would give to my kids, you know, or that I would give to myself, and probably an advice that my mother gave me. I don't know. And definitely something that an old wise witch would say.
yeah, for sure.
I'm sure it's, you know, it's the kind of thing that are kind of that we all kind of know deep inside, but that it's good to hear or to say out loud once in a while. It's I don't know, it's even if we're all different and all our own little universe, there's some, I mean, universal truth, I don't know about that, but there's some, you know, deeply human thing that we all have in common, and this kind of like old wisdom thing. I think that's just what it is, more or less. And I make it sound like I just turn it into like fun metaphor to make it look like, I don't know, more appealing. But yeah, it's just a lot of common sense, I guess.
Yeah, it struck me as like something somebody's like grandmother would say to them. It's like this little wise nugget. It was really great. So I also like how you you let the characters make mistakes and like be messy, and then the way it's handled in such like a sensitive and gentle way is great, and it doesn't feel like you're preaching to anybody like this is how you should act, kids.
Oh, that's good. I'm happy that you're telling me that, because sometimes I'm like, you may sound a little bit too
well, I think like if your character was perfect all the time and was calling somebody else out for bad behavior, that might be worse. But like you really let Effie go way down into her hurt feelings and her like pushing people away, which was great.
Yeah, no, I do think that there's, and for the same way, there's no villain in my story either. You know, I don't believe in villain, and I don't believe that, you know, in characters that are all good and shiny, and I think that Effie can be pretty bratty, and she definitely shows it in that book, and I'm happy to show like her journey towards like understanding what she feels and why, and then trying to correct her mistake and make the most out of the situation.
Yeah. I guess that, excuse me, speaking of villains, that is interesting that you don't have a villain in this book, and I hadn't really thought about that.
And the previous one either. I mean, I don't have real
Yeah.
villains. They're not,
Yeah.
because I don't believe in villains.
Like people being a villain, you mean?
Yes, like you know,
Yeah.
the big fat fluorescent neon etiquette. You're the villain. I mean, I love it in someone else's stories. I do love a good villain, but I just can't write. I mean, they don't come to me. I can't write a villain.
Fascinating. And yeah, I'm thinking like so the drama in your book, the conflict comes from, I guess, aside from the friendship stuff, there's those two statues who are having a misunderstanding really, and other people are getting caught up in their misunderstanding, but neither one of them is especially villainous, which is interesting.
Which is life most of the time,
Yeah.
People want to be bad. It's just like they feel hurt or unheard or like, and then they turn sour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess in everybody's story, somebody else is the villain, right? No one ever says to himself, I'm the villain. Yeah.
We're all the villain of someone.
It's true. I know, even if we don't want to be.
My kid's villain very often these days.
Yeah, I'm the villain in our house all the time.
Here you go, because you're the one who said, please, those shoes do not belong in the fridge or like, on the couch.
Yeah, no, you can't be on your screen for 7 hours today.
No, you cannot, because you'll turn into a monster.
Where did you come up with those statues, by the way? Are they actual statues in Brooklyn, or did you just make them up?
Yeah, I mean, I got the idea like because I was back then driving Josephine to dance class and passing on 6th Ave in Park Slope pretty regularly. And there is, I think, I don't remember the cross street now. People in Brooklyn, in Park Slope, I think it's Carroll Street, maybe in 6th Ave. I mean, you can definitely go and see the building that I drew there, more or less look the same. But so there's two statues, but not those statues.
Oh, interesting. So they're like looking at each other across the road?
Yes, and one was there before and the new one kind of show up. And I remember, when the construction was done, I was just like, oh, interesting. And then I told my dad, I was like, I mean, the conversation between these two must be interesting. I would love to be able to hear what they tell each other at night. And that's how it started. But I had to do a makeover completely because, yes, I couldn't use the statue as is.
Is one of them like really colorful and like funky like that one?
One is, no, they're not colorful, but original, I would say, yes. But nothing like that one. No, I mean, I made like several sketches for that statue, and that one I was just like, oh yeah, bunny ears, that's cool.
I'm a little obsessed with that one, I have to tell you.
Cool.
I love the little feet. I don't know why, it's just really cute.
Thank you.
It reminds me of something I can't put my finger on.
Oh, it's like, yeah, I got inspired by a lot of things, I guess. And Nikit Sanfal, definitely one, like the color that I use is very Nikit Sanfal, like.
Okay.
Those stripe of colors like that on her big, big she has that.
I'm going to have to look her up after this.
She's amazing.
All right, I have one more random question that's kind of a joke we had before. When we were talking about this event, I said, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you if your character was a tree, what kind of tree they would be. But then you said, actually, I love that question. So I know I don't want to give any spoilers, but one of the witches in the book can turn into a tree. So I'm just curious about the main characters, perhaps, if you have any thoughts on what trees they might be.
It's so funny that you ask that because it's something that I go over in the third book.
Oh shoot! Oh no! Is this spoilers then?
No! It's no spoiler at all. It's no spoiler at all. And yes, but is that something that will be mentioned? I mean, not that they turn into, but in the third book, I talk a lot about the witch's relationship with nature in general, and their bonding with, each bonds with different kind of plants and trees. So Carlotta is more like big trees, like oak trees, like, big trees. And Celiban is more like gramíneas, like all kind of herbs, big,
Mhm.
small, the one that move like that with the wind and make all kind of noises and can hide bunnies and insects. And but are very strong, they can plow with the wind.
Mhm.
And Effie, I'll keep it as a surprise. You will see.
Okay, fair enough. I'm really enjoying that whole like witches in nature kind of thing, because that is
Yes.
kind of a
Yes.
witchy thing, right?
It's so completely a witchy thing.
So you there's a part in the book where they're talking about how it's kind of trendy for young girls to be into witchcraft, which is so true. Why do you think like right now witchcraft is trending, and like what do you think it is it about witchcraft that's appealing to young people, but probably young girls a little bit more?
I mean, well, several things, surely. I mean, first, I think that witchcraft has always kind of been popular in some extent, but it does feel like it comes back to forefront when society is shaking. And oh, holy pineapple, as we are shaking right now. So it's no wonder to me that a lot of us like kind of wants to reconnect with our spiritual self and plugs themselves back into nature, as we were just mentioning, because ecology, feminism, like, which are really burning topic today, are like two things that witches are. I mean, it's like, both of these things. And and witches are free thinkers and in touch with their inner self, and who are all about like self-expression. So who wouldn't be into that? Who wouldn't be game for that? Plus magic is empowering. Magic is strength. And that's something that I was definitely fascinated with when I was a little girl myself. Also, I was watching a lot of anime, and the main character was very often like a girl who was kind of plain and shy and reserved. But as soon as she was like using her magic, she was becoming this all like awesome, super self-assured, powerful girl. So I had like, this thing in my head that magic is this like secret thing that empowers you. And that really, definitely fed my imagination.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So I got lost in track a little bit yet. But I see. Did I answer your question here? Kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think like also just like looking for answers to things these days, there's a lot going on, and if you can sort of feel like you might have answers or ways of understanding things, and maybe it's a magical approach to it.
Yeah,
It's also
just a way of getting back a little bit of control over who you are, and get back in touch with yourself, just to calm down the noises around.
Especially as like a teenager or a preteen person, it definitely feels a lot out of control in your life, and it is kind of a way of centering and feeling more in control.
Yeah. Yay, witches!
Yay!
Go witches!
Love it. I just think it's such a fascinating topic, and it's such a smart way to pull all that stuff together. Again, without being like, these people are feeling like, disempowered or unhappy, and like you use it as a metaphor almost, in a really brilliant way for someone who's very lost and abandoned at the beginning of the first book. She's really kind of spiraling and has nothing, and nowhere to even live, and then she slowly starts pulling it all together, and like so much of that journey is her own work, even though she has her aunts guiding her. So it's just really, incredibly well done and I think really empowering for
You
young
speak so
girls.
well of my book. It's come with me all the time that I have to speak about it.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I hope there are lots more books and just more of this kind of content for young girls. It's great. I'm trying to think if I have one more short question for you before we go to the Q&A. I'm just looking through my list.
I can make some
Let's
noise and sound
see.
effects if you want.
Okay, now that you live in Montreal, do you have any plans to incorporate Montreal, or is it going to stay completely in Brooklyn?
Montreal with the witches, I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking of maybe taking them. I mean, I'm thinking of taking them out of Brooklyn somehow. Travel a little bit, definitely. Not sure about Montreal yet, if they will come to Montreal. Maybe if I have the chance to do, you guys read books, keep on reading books, I will maybe keep on making them and then I will bring them to Montreal. But we'll see.
Okay, I'll do the work to get more people reading. I think that could be really fun. I'm not like trying to give you story ideas.
Please do.
Do you get a lot of people like saying, I have this great idea, you should write this book or you should illustrate it?
Not like that, but I had the chance, as you know, to finally meet readers of The Witches of Brooklyn like a week ago. And yeah, meeting kids in real life, finally, that was so great. And some of them had ideas that, like they didn't say like, you should write a book about that, but it's just like, that would be great if she was doing this, that's like, consider very seriously, maybe. And you're like, okay, fair enough. I take notes.
Did you get any like really wild questions or comments?
Really wild questions. I had one once that I was like, it was on Zoom and I was like, wow. That little girl asked me, because in the first book of The Witches of Brooklyn, at some point, Effie is asking about like finding her path in life and how do you find your path in life, more or less. And that little girl asked me that, so how do I find my path in life? And you're like, oh, wait a sec, that's a lot of responsibility for a child. And I was just like, let's all relax and say that there's not just one path for one person, but several. We all have plenty paths that we can take and in one life, and you can change your mind and go back. So no pressure. Let's make no pressure. There's not just one path.
That was impressive to come up with that on the fly. I would have probably just been like, oh,
I was proud of myself, but the thing is like, it scared me so much. I was like, ooh, say something smart.
That sounds really smart. So good job.
Well, that was probably luck.
So it looks like we have one question in the Q&A. It's from Willow, who's 10 years old. And she wants to know if you got any comments on how much time it took for someone to read one of your books. Like, what's the longest and shortest time that people have reported for reading your books?
Oh, wow. That's a very interesting question. I've never ever thought of that, So people always ask you, how long does it take you to make a graphic novel? But no, I have no idea. How long it takes to read the book. And for different readers, I don't know. I've
definitely heard reports of people saying they read your book in a day, like their kids read it in a day.
That's great. It means that they liked it. That's cool. That's great.
I think Neil has read it at least once and read it, I think, within a couple of days. It's definitely a quick read. You just get sucked in. But I can also see wanting to savor it for a long time and just read a few pages at a time.
That's the thing with graphic novel, is that you can just go to the story to know what happens, and then you can go back. And that's what I love about graphic novel, is that you can really like do it at your own pace, and it's like self-service. You can go back to that page and reread that thing, and just look at the illustration.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so much easier to find the place where you wanted to go back to than it would be in a text book. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, easier for the correction, the edits as
Oh,
well.
I bet. Although you can't do find replace, can you, for the picture? I do that for my book because there's no way to find stuff. Otherwise, you do a search for, some detail.
But at least I have people who reread and look and just like go and send me feedback, like on page 72, the sweater had two line there, and the next page there's missing a line. And like,
oh wow.
Oh, there was, in What the Hex, for instance, she has the word happy on her hat. And any other page I was forgetting happy. So like, bring happy back on the hat. Yes. Thank you.
I am fascinated by that as somebody who does copy editing.
Imagine doing it for pictures.
Okay, so do they have special copy editors who do graphic novel copying, or is that just a regular? That is cool.
It's a shame. I'm not sure. I don't know, but I guess they're pretty used to graphic novels. Yes, because they comment on the color. They comment on so many things. It's amazing. I mean,
they must be specialized. That's really now I want to know all about graphic novel copy editors.
I'm very thankful to them. I'm very, very thankful to them.
Yeah, that kind of eye for detail, like lines on the sweater. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. The shoes wasn't that color 10 pages ago.
Yeah, are they ever like, well, this is slightly off color? Can they spot that kind of thing?
No, not if it's that. No, if it's too detailed, I don't think so. And sometimes, I had things like, that they couldn't see because you had to have the color to see that, yeah, it's a different t-shirt because it's a different day. And she just went to the bathroom and changed, but you cannot tell because you don't have the color yet.
Oh, wow. So do you have like a million notes for yourself about all of that?
Not, yeah. I mean, kind of. I have palettes and things. Yeah. And some sort of notes. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question here from Willow again. And the question is, if they moved, how or would it still be Witches of Brooklyn? Would you change the name?
Oh, I will keep the name. I will keep the name because I will always be based in Brooklyn, Willow. I keep them in the big house in Brooklyn in Dismas Park forever. But they may be traveling. Yes, maybe they will go places, but they will always come back to Brooklyn. That's where they live. That's where the community is. And yeah, that's where they are.
And that way people can always know it's part of that same series if they're shopping for the books.
As well.
Help people to find
and
it.
like that, it gives me, excuses to go back to Brooklyn pretty often for reference. Thanks. I love Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh, we're sad. It's a shame you guys moved out. It's such a nice place where you were. And it's nice to see Dismas Park in your illustrations too.
I miss it a lot. Let's not talk about it.
Okay, I won't. Okay, here's another random question just from me. Do you listen to music when you're creating?
No, I mean, I wish, because that sounded like such a cool, I would love to be able to say, yes, I listen to this, and this, but I cannot create with music in my ears. I need to be in silence. And even in the dark, when I'm trying to imagine things, I usually put an eye mask.
I love that.
That's true. I put an eye mask, I have my notepad, and I lie down and I'm playing with things. So silence and darkness, I'm so not fun.
I'm just picturing you just lying there doing this now, like hand gestures.
I do it in my head, not with my head.
Okay.
No, I just play with sequence in my head, and when you're at the early beginning of the stories, when at that time when I only have scenes, like one or two scenes very clear and a vague idea of where the story goes, so that's where I lie on my bed with my eye mask and try to figure out where I want to go. I
love it. All right, we have one more question from Lynn.
I want to know what were you listening to when you wrote The Nightmare Thief?
I listened to a lot of Agnes. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Obel. She's German, and she does a lot of orchestral it's like orchestra background, but she's singing and she has this very almost like it almost makes me think of fairy tales when I hear her singing. So I just listened to like a few of her albums a lot. And then I had some like sort of evil playlist for when I was writing the villain. Just like kind of like more like angry female vocals when I needed to really get into her head. She's very angry.
That's fascinating to me because I cannot. It's like, and I know how to do several things at the same time. You know, I'm a mom, but really writing and coming up with things, stories, dialogues when having music, I cannot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. It's like you hear the words too much in your head and then it's too hard to hear your characters.
But it's so cool though to be able to give a playlist to the readers, you know, say, by the way, listen to that reading. I think that's really cool because I can read when listening to music. So
interesting. See, I don't like to read and listen to music, but I can write and listen to music. So we're clearly opposites on that.
It don't work the same way.
No. I have one more question from Lynn. And it is, when did you know you wanted to make graphic novels? How did you get started?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. When did I know? I kind of always knew, but it took me 30-ish years to have the courage to effectively try myself at it. That would be the short answer. I've always been drawing and always had, because I grew up with a lot of graphic novels around me and kind of learned how to read, reading graphic novels, adding, you know, speech bubbles and like doing things into panels, all that came pretty naturally. And I kind of always did it. And I've always done it for myself, you know, doing some kind of diary in images, I guess. But yeah, no, it took me meeting my agent to really, find the stamina, the courage to try myself at the full-length graphic novel. Before that, I was like, no, I cannot. And when I tried, I was just like, oh my God, it's working, I'm doing it. And now I never want to stop. I mean, it's the only thing I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. And it's interesting that it took you so long, but you got there, and it's great. It's a great reminder that nobody's too late. It's not too late to try anything new.
Never stop. And the thing is, like, you know, I had different jobs, but I always had like sketchbooks, and I've never stopped drawing, never ever, and doing my own story for myself. So yeah, if you have a dream, just keep exercising the dream.
Absolutely.
That is the best message. It is so true. Just keep going. Just keep going, y'all. Just keep going. Wow. Yes. This has been the best hour. Like, this has been so much fun. It has been so full of joy. It's been so what I needed on a Tuesday night. Thank you so much. Like, do you have any other just like thoughts or thanks or any other things that you would like to share with this audience who's been with us for an hour? Silence and darkness. Silence and darkness at the end of the hour.
No, just thank you to you for hosting this. It's great to have a local indie store that's such a great home for everybody who loves books in town.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to both of you. Thank you, Nicole, for being my amazing sister-in-law that I love so much.
Aww.
And thank you, Kira. Thanks you. I cannot wait to be able to come and visit your store in person next time I'm able to cross the border and come visit Nicole and Karen and the kids. I will definitely ask Nicole to take me to you.
Yes. I can't wait.
We'll definitely make a trip.
Yes. Yes, come and see us. All of y'all, come and see us. Yes, that is the best. I'm gonna reach behind me to get these beautiful books. What the Hex is so beautiful. It was so lovely to hear it in your voice. Wow, that was so special, like so special. And so now that you've had that awesome sneak preview, all y'all come get this book. Witches of Brooklyn, always in Brooklyn, even if they're traveling, they're still the Witches of Brooklyn, not in Brooklyn. Yes, the Witches of Brooklyn, no matter where they are, what the heck's, come get this book. And while you were at the Silver Unicorn getting this book, which, we're gonna have to, I'm gonna email you, we're gonna have to get some book plates on this one.
Oh yeah.
While you're at the Silver Unicorn, please do also pick up Nicole.
Yes, go buy that book, please.
Yes, The Nightmare Thief. Sequel? We get a sequel for this one?
Yeah, in January.
It's coming.
The Dream Spies.
It's coming.
In January for the sequel, y'all. And don't forget, we also have Nicole's YA novel, The Wide Starlight. So come and get that as well.
I would love the soundtrack of that one too. You will tell me later, but I would love the soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah, because this was German orchestral. Actually, I want to know that before we go. We have like a second. Like, what was the soundtrack for that one?
It was Agnes Obel. I don't know if it's Obel or Obel.
That's phenomenal. This is so great. This is so great. If you are far away and you cannot come to the Silver Unicorn or silverunicornbooks.com, which you can access anywhere, please make sure that you pick up these two beautiful books and all of your books, especially this upcoming holiday season, at an independent bookstore near you. Keep creating. You're both amazing. You're geniuses. Love it. Can't wait to host you again. Stay safe out there, and all of y'all have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.